Hi, kids. Hi, kids. All right. Hey, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about why my forehead is so shiny. No, just kidding. I'm going to talk to you about how to use words to make a graph, or if I have a graph, how do I describe the motion from it? So, first of all, first thing I want to tell you, okay, if you are approaching this where you are trying to memorize, or if you are, heaven forbid, making flashcards, trying to memorize everything, you're doing it the wrong way. So stop doing that, and let me explain so that you can understand. Okay, so first of all, so imagine we have a car going by. There goes a car. And if that car goes by, and I said, hey, describe the motion of the car, you would use words like, oh, that car is moving forwards, speeding up. That car is moving backwards, slowing down. That car is moving backwards at a constant speed. Something like that, okay? Well, if you notice, okay, most of the time when you're talking about the car, you're talking about its speed, its velocity. Because remember, velocity is just speed plus direction. So if you're saying it's moving forward or backwards, you're including the direction it's going. And then if you say things like, oh, it's moving forward at a constant speed, you're talking about velocity. So most of the time, guys, if you're asked to describe the motion, what you're doing is you're talking about velocity. So let's actually talk about a V versus T graph first, because again, most of the time that's what you're doing. So if you take a look here, if you had something like this, okay, okay, this is going to be where, if you guys think about this, this should make sense to you because, okay, if you just look at it and go, hey, look, my velocity is 0, my velocity is 0, my velocity is 0, my velocity is 0. Oh, I'm not moving, okay? Whereas if you had something that looked like this, okay, this is where, again, I think if you understand it, if you make up numbers, hey, look, let's say this is plus 2. My velocity is plus 2 meters per second, plus 2 meters per second, plus 2 meters per second, plus 2 meters per second. What does that mean? Plus, it's going forward. 2, it's staying the same. I'm moving forward at a constant speed. So now, rather than like, oh, I need to memorize that, don't think about it, understand it. Hey, look, the same speed moving forward, okay? Whereas if it was underneath, I'm going the same speed going backwards. Positive, forward, negative, going backwards. Okay, at the same time, if I had a graph that looked like this, okay, let's think about this, okay, let's think about the numbers. My number is 0. My number is 1 meter per second, 2 meters per second, 3 meters per second. Now, guys, if I asked you, hey, if you're going 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3, what are you doing? You're going to say, you're speeding up, of course. Oh, so that is speeding up. So again, it's not a memorized thing. Like, think about it, understand it. It'll make sense to you. Hey, look, I'm getting further away from 0. I'm speeding up. And that's the same, guys, even if you're going like this. This would be 0, -1, -2, -3. Again, I'm speeding up. It's just that I'm speeding up in the negative direction. So I'm speeding up going backwards. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. Same token, if I have something like this, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Oh, let's think about the numbers. Okay, I got 3, I have 2, I have 1, I have 0. Well, wait a second, if my speed is going from 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, what am I doing? Oh, I'm slowing down. And again, positive, I have a positive velocity, so I'm slowing down going forward. So again, rather than try to, memorize a whole bunch of different things, think about the graph, and the graph is going to tell you. The other thing that I want to tell you guys to think about. So first of all, the velocity will tell you about the motion. But let's say, this is meters per second, and this is seconds, okay? Because it is. But again now, because you're always going to be asked to look at the slope, look at the area, look at the graph. Okay? If I am looking at the slope of this graph, if you guys take a look, I am going to have meters per second, okay? Meters per second. Oh yeah, that's going to tell me acceleration, okay? Whereas if I'm going to look at the area of this graph, meters per second times seconds, oh, that's going to give me meters. that's going to tell me my displacement. So again, you're not memorizing a bunch of stuff. You're just looking at the units and you're figuring it out. Okay. So the slope would be meters per second acceleration. The area would be meters per second times second, which is meters. That's your displacement. So if you want to know how far you go. So anyway, all right. So let's say we have a different graph though. So let's say we have a d versus t graph. Okay, where this is meters, this is going to be in seconds because it is. So now if you guys take a look at this graph, okay, and you might think, hey, you know, maybe I'm asked to describe the motion of this graph. Okay, so you might think, okay, if I'm asked to describe the motion, I want to think velocity. So again, if I have velocity and I have a d versus t graph, well, I want velocity. Well, again, it's always the graph, the slope, the area. Okay, so the graph, displacement. Okay, if you want x for displacement. The slope, oh, meters per second. Meters per second. Oh, hey, that's velocity. See, you didn't memorize anything. You just looked at what you know. Area, slope. Oh, slope tells you something. Okay, so then you look at the slope here. And this is the tricky part because this is something you may have not been asked to do before. But if you look at the slope of this part, okay, hey, look, my slope is positive, and my slope is constant. It's not changing, it's a line. So that if my slope is constant, okay, positive, I am moving forward at a constant velocity. Bing. Okay, if you look at this one, hey, my slope is positive, I'm going up, okay, but my slope is changing. So, well, how is it changing? Well, my slope is getting less steep as I move along. So if my slope is getting less steep, that means I have to be slowing down. So this would be moving forward at a constant speed. This means I'm moving forward, speeding up. Well, how do you know it's getting less positive? One way you could do it if you think about tangent lines. You see how my tangent lines are getting less steep, okay? You know, as opposed to if it was something like this, where if you look at my tangent lines, okay, you can see my tangent lines are getting more steep. You know, something like this is, hey, what is my slope going to tell me? Well, my slope is going to tell me I'm moving backwards. How do I know? Negative slope, okay? And then my tangent lines are getting steeper, so I'm actually moving backwards, speeding up. Okay, but, so hopefully that makes sense. And then the last piece, if you were to think about an acceleration versus time graph. Okay, and this is where, guys, you have to understand what acceleration actually is, okay? Acceleration is the rate you change your velocity. So if I have a positive acceleration, okay, does that mean I'm speeding up? Maybe, okay? But here's what it means. It means my velocity over time is becoming more positive. Well, if I call this way positive, and my velocity is that way, and I am also accelerating that way, well, I'm moving that way and I'm accelerating that way, so that means my velocity over time is becoming more that way, so I'm speeding up. Okay, so this would be, hey, it could be I'm moving forward, speeding up. Okay, but if my velocity is like this, meaning my velocity is negative, okay, hey, I'm moving this way, but over time my velocity is becoming more that way. Oh, well, if I'm moving this way and I'm becoming more that way, what does that mean? Oh, that means I'm slowing down, okay? But again, the key, okay, is to understand. You're not going to memorize, okay? So remember, your acceleration graphs, they can mean all kinds of different things. So like, you know, positive acceleration, you could have no acceleration. What does that mean? Well, if I have no acceleration, my velocity is never changing. Oh, I'm moving at a constant speed. Could you be stopped? Sure you could. Do you have to be stopped? No way, okay? It just means that your velocity is not changing, okay? Same thing, negative velocity, just like we talked about, that, hey, now, over time, my velocity is becoming more and more negative. So if I'm already moving in the negative direction, hey, now I'm speeding up. If I'm moving the other way, hey, I'm slowing down. But, so there you have it. All right. Hope that helps. Bye, kids!